Let me tell you why you're here. You felt it your entire life. That there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there. You can see it when you look out your window or when you turn on your television. It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth.
What truth?
That you are a slave, Neo. Like everyone else, you were born into bondage. You take the blue pill, the story ends, and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
There's the hardcore Mandela effect, and then there's your everyday person, because the hardcore are the kind of people that realize it's happening, and they can't just let it out. They can't just shrug their shoulders and go on with their life. Things have changed at that moment for them forever, and that's your hardcore Mandela effect. And that video eventually disappeared. I went back to look at it a second time shortly after, and it was gone. It just disappeared. I mean, it's really strange how this stuff happens. Sometimes you're in one reality, and I don't know if it's physically going to another one or this one's getting edited, but everything that was there at one time disappears. The flip-flops, yep. And for me, I experienced those extremely, extremely hard. So that was, I was right there with everybody when we were talking about Apollo. We were talking about Apollo 13 when it was saying, Houston, we've had a problem. And we were saying, isn't it supposed to be have? He's supposed to say have. And then it just switches. So we're like, whoa, it switched.
Yeah.
I was having arguments with people. I had these conversations with people that are now gone. They don't exist anymore. But I had them. I know I had them. Stuff like that just blows my mind.
You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Here's your overdose of stupidity.
Yeah. So, as far as this reality, I've been asking what it's about and why we're here ever since the very beginning a bit about it. I mean, the world is crazy. The world's got lots of things to cry about, but there's also a lot of, I guess some of the best humor comes from our trauma, but there is a lot of things to joke about.
What was this change?
Opened my eyes. So with that one, it was the Phil Collins song, and I was looking at the lyrics because I remembered it being "Hold On" very clearly. My whole life, it was "Hold On."
Yeah.
And the lyrics changed to "Oh Lord," but I found was saying the line and saying "Hold On." You could read it clearly, so I said, "This is going to be good." It is "Hold On." So I started playing the song. Then when I started looking at the Mandela effect, I was like, "Yeah, I remember that. I remember that. I remember that." And then things started to change right in front of my eyes. Like as I was looking at it, the first time it happened, I walked out of my room. My family, my wife, my daughter, they all saw me, and I looked like I seen a ghost. That's what they said. They literally said, "You look like you've just seen a ghost. What happened?" I was like, all the blood drained from my face. I was shaking uncontrollably, tremors for at least a half an hour. This is going to prove to everybody I'm not crazy. This is going to prove to everybody I'm not crazy. This is going to prove to everybody I'm not crazy. I looked around at me. I was like, where am I? How can this be real? None of this could be real. That I saw, and it wasn't just seeing the thing change. Of how it changed, as if reality itself was being controlled by somebody else or had a personality of its own, but it was doing it intentionally for me to see it. And when it changed, I was like, just my mind was blown, and my whole family and everything. And of course I went, this has got to be the end. Jesus is going to come back soon. The apocalypse is at hand. I was, full blown. This is it. I know there's an interaction from a protective being, which I would say is God. I've been a spiritual person my whole life. I've always believed that there's more after death and that miracles can happen. I believed in miracles. But I never fully believed reality could do that sort of thing right in front of me. It just defied everything I thought about this place. This is going to prove to everybody I'm not crazy. But recently, I've been on the simulation kick. It was the start of my Mandela effect stuff back in 2016 and kind of talking to God again, because I had gotten away from talking to God, I had gotten away from prayer. But knowing that this reality is not real. I just don't know what else I'm supposed to do with that. You know what? Lost friends just trying to point that stuff out. No, I think with my family, they're concerned that I get a little too OCD about it. I get too obsessive compulsive. This is going to prove to everybody I'm not crazy. So if I get to, they just don't want, when this first happened, I couldn't say two sentences to anybody without bringing it up. So now I don't. I can go all day long and not mention it to anybody. But at first, super serious. I couldn't laugh at anything. Super serious. I couldn't laugh at anything. Super serious. I couldn't laugh at anything. And they don't want me to be totally just that. They don't want me to go back into that mind where I just couldn't talk about anything else with anybody. I was extreme. This is going to prove to everybody I'm not crazy. And scare performance actually got me to laugh. This reality is fluid. It does lots of things to cry about, but it's not lots of things to cry about, but when I was hardcore researching it, and I haven't been for a while, but back then I remember I was coming across that stuff all the time where these edits were being made to our history, which again made me think, is a different parallel world, or is this reality getting edits? But there was definitely that, and I always say the past can change just as easily as the now can change. That stuff always blows my mind when I see that. But that's where I wonder, because there's this part of me that wonders if I popped into a whole different world and I immediately went back to those people and those blogs and those comments and those conversations, and they were all gone. Just disappeared. And I had this memory. I was like, isn't she supposed to be called Katie? No, she's Kate. Okay, Kate Perry. Then she changed to Katie again. So very, very few people are with me remembering VIX, VICS. I was in that reality where it was VICS. There was no K. And we were puzzled. Isn't it supposed to have a K? I can't remember.
Wow.
I don't know. It's hard to it's hard to get the mind around it, but one even starts imagining or thinking about solipsism, or maybe I'm in some sort of dream that I can't escape. Maybe none of this is real. Maybe none of this is real. It's hard to fathom. It's so bizarre, the amount of evidence that there is, why these people all getting precisely the exact same thing wrong. It shouldn't be that way. It's a very naturalistic world, and the churches don't want to touch it either, because it's very threatening, and it's threatening to a lot of folks, even a lot of spiritual, just non-Christian even, but just spiritual gurus don't even want to touch it. This is the world you live in. I mean, reality itself isn't steady anymore. I mean, that's discomforting to a lot of people, but meant to know, apparently. It's interesting that what we're experiencing right now is pretty mind-bending, and all that stuff has been around this time. We definitely are in a time of awakening. People are becoming more aware and conscious of of their surroundings, and more people are becoming aware of the Mandela effect. It's just happening more organically. I don't think that I've had any impact on it, but it does seem to be like there are more and more people. I come across more people who have heard about it now than when I first was asking. There was when I first started, like nobody had even heard of it before. But how many things have changed retroactively? This is going to prove to everybody I'm not crazy. This is going to prove to everybody I'm not crazy. This is going to prove to everybody I'm not crazy. How many things are we seeing that has just been inserted in our timeline? Because I've come across things that weren't there, and suddenly they were part of our history. Back when I began being affected, I was looking for Mandela effects every single day, and I was tracking. I would put in the word Mandela effect, and anybody that put out a video that day, I watched it. I watched every single thing. And I did that for about a year. And then even after that, I at least glanced through the videos for a year later, just if I didn't watch. So I watched every single one, and I do studying. I was so obsessed with digging in and like looking up the company background and the histories and all that. So I would find a Mandela effect that was like mind-blowing to me. I'd research it down to its core. I'd find out its total history. And then a month or two would go by, and there'd be a new history. There's a difference between researching the Mandela effect and really living and seeing things change and knowing without a shadow of a doubt, not even a hint of a doubt that this is going on. It's hard. I know I've heard pastors have been told at conventions to not talk about the Bible changes. I can tell when I've talked to pastors about it that they don't want to talk about it. Feel it's threatening their authority. It's threatening their authority given to them through the Bible. So it's threatening. I was going around to pastors and trying to get them to see it, and that was a no-go. And then you start getting them to tell you to not talk about that stuff, or you can't be a part of our group if you're going to believe in this, that sort of stuff. In life, I became very spiritual, read the Bible, just decided upon myself I was going to read it cover to cover. I was a teenager. And I decided I wanted to be a pastor. I was preaching in my school. I was opening the Bible, reading the Bible to people. I was gung-ho to become a pastor. Things happened to me. Life was saved a number of times. Once I even caught on fire, and I didn't burn. Yeah, when I was a child, I grew up in a house, had lots of interactions with ghosts. Ghost was a daily occurrence. There was, if you watch these Cody and Zach and all that, and they get all freaked out when they see God. Like every day I experienced ghosts. That was not a big deal. Hand caught on fire. So instead of getting electrocuted, I caught on fire. My hand catches on fire. It starts burning at the fingertips, just the top part, nothing on the bottom. And it's about a 3-inch flame. There's no smoke. There's no smell. There's no sound. It's just burning, and it's mystical. I mean, I'm looking at it. I'm like, I'm staring at my hand in wonder that I'm not feeling any pain, because I know this is supposed to hurt. And I'm just watching it thinking, this is amazing. This is cool. Boy, I'm thinking this is awesome. I'm watching it burn. It gets to my sleeve, and I was wearing like pajamas, like felt pajamas. And it got to the sleeve, and it's just started burning the same way my hand was, no different. But no smoke, no smell, nothing changed. It just kept slowly going up my arm. And I'm watching it all the way to getting near to the top, and I thought, maybe I shouldn't let this thing take over my whole body, because what if it does start to hurt? I went into the kitchen, I washed my hands, and I just looked at my hands thinking, this is remarkable. My hands don't hurt at all. My skin's just as new looking as it can be, and it just no harm to me. And I had the sense of the impossible way back then. The ghost, a voice spoke to me one time, and when I was a child, and said to run. Later on, at first I thought I was called to like some sort of ministry, some sort of mission to tell the world. And I don't know if that's the purpose.